All right, let me ask you this.
J.C. Davis.
This is the question. If you guys were listening to KMBR this morning, as I always do, Murph asked Larry was on, and Murph said, "Hey, Larry, Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl. Brock's not. Did the Niners keep the wrong quarterback?" And Larry, who has good timing, said, "Great question, Grant." So I'm thinking, I got Larry today. I got Larry later in the afternoon. It is a great question, Larry. I already know your answer, but I'm gonna take you through this and prod you a little bit because I love this question. Did the Niners keep the wrong quarterback?
See, I don't think so. I don't think Sam Darnold's all that. I really don't. Now he had a very good game, but if you go back and look at that game, I mean, Sam Darnold doesn't see it. Sam Darnold doesn't have secondary movement. He got away with he's got a great defense and a really good running back and the best wide receiver in the game. But there were several throws where it's like the guy's open, and now here comes Sam with the laser. And it's like and he still just doesn't make the anticipatory throw. Now, it may not matter, right? He's one win away from the Super Bowl, and I think he's probably going to get it. I'll be rooting for New England, but I think Seattle's probably going to win that game. But he still doesn't. It's not natural. It's like he doesn't have secondary movement ability, so he's just a pocket passer. If you honestly ask me, I think Mac Jones is a better player than Sam Darnold. I really do. Because I think Mac Jones is more accurate than Sam Darnold. I think he throws with more anticipation. I think he sees coverage better. I think he knows where to go with the ball. He's more decisive. Sam is a better athlete with a better arm. But even in this game against the Rams, he was late. He was behind guys. He was late. But he's got such a great number one receiver and such a great run game and defense that it may not matter. I know people thought, oh, he was awesome. Yeah, that's a box score analysis. If you actually went through that thing and rolled that tape back and forth, what you'd see is JSN in the clear, 1 tick, 2 tick. Now here comes the ball. And it was late. He was like waiting for it. Like, Sam, come on. So I still think Sam is a little clunky. And I still think he's going to be a guy who's going to turn the ball over. And I think they made the right decision. But I also think that Sam found himself in San Francisco largely because he worked with Purdy and his preparation is way better because of it.
Okay, you had a good answer. Here's why I disagree, though. Here's why I think they kept the wrong quarterback. And it's not because I think Sam is better than Brock. I think when Brock is rolling, he's really good. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's really good and better than Darnold in a lot of ways. Problem is you're paying a lot more for Brock than the Seahawks are paying for Darnold. And when you're spending $53 million a year on a quarterback, you need a few things from him. One, you kind of need him to be elite. I mean, if you're giving a guy elite money, he kind of needs to give you elite play. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say he merely gives you very, very good play, which is Brock Purdy most of the time. He needs to stay healthy. And Brock Purdy hasn't. And I think what we see with Darnold is like, at least hasn't missed a game in 2 years. And you look at the quarterbacks that are in the Super Bowl right now, it's a guy on that, mid-priced veteran contract and a guy on a rookie contract. It's just, if you're spending that much money on a quarterback, you gotta be so good at drafting. And the Niners aren't. And if they had committed themselves to Darnold, they would have given themselves more wiggle room like they had a few years ago. So now I feel like they're kind of in that same group as like Green Bay, Philly, Dallas, Detroit, and Jacksonville, where you're spending a ton on a quarterback and you might be able to catch teams that aren't, but it's going to be because of just some incredible drafts. And I don't know that the Niners can do it. So they do have a good quarterback and he's better than Darnold, but at what cost, I guess?
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair observation, but we don't have to go back too far in history to find a $55 million or $53 million quarterback who didn't have great stature and still won the Super Bowl. His name was Jalen Hurts, and it was last year.
Oh, yeah.
So right. I kind of think really what you're talking about, Grant,
what do they have?
They have Howie Roseman.
They have a great GM.
Yeah, but I mean, then I like John Lynch, and I'm not going to sit here on this stream and be like, fire John Lynch. I'm not saying that. I'm really not saying that because I think John Lynch has brought this organization tremendous value, and he's made some good decisions. Howie Roseman, John Lynch was a star football player. Then John Lynch was a star announcer. Howie Roseman wasn't a star football player. Howie Roseman wasn't a star announcer. How many people that you know in life are truly awesome at 3 different careers? So, I mean, it would not take any shine off John Lynch to say that he's a good but not great personnel guy. And he's in a division with Les Snead and John Schneider, who are great. And he's in a conference that has Howie Roseman, who's great. So I think the 49ers, I hate to say it, they got to do better at the draft. And you can't, the Trey Lance thing killed them. The picks in the 3rd round, they've effed up 10 picks alone in the 3rd round in this regime. I mean, that they had 6 3rd-round picks in the 2 drafts after the Lance trade, and they went 0 for 6. I mean, Danny Gray, Ty Davis Price. That's why they're at where they're at. If they go 3 for 6, they got 3 more day 2 picks on their roster. They're a whole lot better. They went 0 for 6. So, I mean, if it was me and if I owned this team, I would say, John, I love you. You bring us tremendous value, and I love you at the top of the masthead, and I love you as a let's you make sure our analytics department gets heard and our scouts get heard and our coaches get heard, and you're the guy who can kind of be the puppeteer. But you can't shortcut. They got to have that super scout, awesome personnel guy. Elliot Wolf is the Pats GM. He's a pipsqueak. He's a tiny little guy who looks like, he would be sitting, in some class in college. He's not a big guy, but Ron Wolf was his dad. Football personnel's his life. They got to find a football personnel lifer and who's a great star, somebody's director of college scouting, make him the GM.
Preferably Jewish.
Take away Kyle Shanahan's personnel control. Take away John's personnel control. Let them have contributions, but let a guy who's really a scout and only a scout make those calls. Hey, we always make fun of Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke drafted DeForest Buckner. You drafted Solomon Thomas. That's a huge difference. And they were basically both in the top 10. I think Buckner went 3rd and Thomas went 3rd and Buckner went like 7. You got to get, I hate to say it, the Trent Baalke of the world, but you got to find a scout who's who's not a Renaissance man. I don't want Sir Thomas More. I don't want some guy who can do it all. I want a guy who's got zits and sits in a dark room but can look at 5 guys that are all 6'5" and 280 and say that guy's going to Canton and that guy's a plumber. And, you have to have that kind of conviction. And the draft is about identifying false favorites. Every one of these guys is great on paper. You got to be able to say, no, that guy's going to fail because of this. That guy's going to fail because of that. And I know that would make Shanahan mad, but I would try it. If I was Jed, I would throw Shanahan more money. I'd throw Lynch more money. I'd say, guys, I don't want to tear this thing down, but I want to have a super scout that leads us personnel-wise. And I'll compensate you extra to allow this to, so this is easy for you. But we're not missing on 18 picks in the first 3 rounds like they've done in the last 9 drafts.
I think it's interesting. I feel like the Niners made up their mind to keep Purdy as their franchise quarterback when he went to the Super Bowl. And I mean, that was it. He lost. It was okay. He came back the next year. He had 6 wins. It was okay. And then he got $53 million a year. I wonder if Darnold will be in the same situation. If he loses to the Patriots, comes back next year and wins 6 games, will the Seahawks give him $53 million a year? I'm going to ask it a different way. If he wins and comes back next year and wins another 13, 14 games and has another deep playoff run, will they give him $50+ million a year? I'm not sure that they will, because what makes their team so good partly is that they're not spending a lot on a quarterback. And while he's good, we know he's not elite. It'll be interesting to see what Seattle does long-term at the quarterback position, because it's working with Darnold now, but I don't know that he's so good that they would necessarily, upend their entire roster salary structure to make him feel special. I don't know. We'll see. That might be a thing of the past.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because, it's funny. I talked to a number of Seattle people in the last few years, and their claim was that when they had Russell Wilson on the rookie deal, that's when they were fantastic. But once they had to pay Russell, Then they didn't have enough money to keep their team intact, and the talent eroded.
He had to cook, and he couldn't.
Right. So, I mean, I do understand what you're saying. I mean, heck, if I'm spending $53 million on my quarterback and you're spending $33 million on your quarterback, you have $20 million to spread around your roster. $20 million can buy you a lot of good players.
Marcus Lawrence,
yes,
Shaheed. Yeah.
But at the same time, the goal was to win. And if your guy wins on any high level, eventually you're going to be paying him in that top tier in the 50 million range. I think what it just basically makes it so you better be good. You better be efficient in how you put this thing together. You don't have an ability to miss as much as the Niners have missed if you're going to pay your quarterback $53 million. So is the answer not paying your quarterback $53 million, or is the answer get a personnel guy who doesn't miss as often? I would say the quarterbacks are harder to
the
find.
Vikings tried to play it cool, and they were like, "We don't need the quarterback, man. We could go cheap." And it's like, everyone's getting fired if you don't fix this right now. So it's scary, but at the same time, just giving a bunch of money to a quarterback who's good but not great makes you the Green Bay Packers. Because I mean, look, Brock might end up being elite. Look at Green Bay. Jordan Love won't. He's good, not great. They're paying him way too much money, and now they have to draft Matthew Golden, and if it works out, great, but it didn't. And they're like, okay, well, it's a first round exit every year, but at least you got there. I mean, is that what you want to be? I think you don't want to be the Packers. I think you want to be better than the Packers. So Brock needs to be better. He needs to be healthy.
It's also one of these things where it's a really hard position to play. Like, it wasn't that long ago that people were boldly saying that C.J. Stroud was on a totally different plateau than Brock Purdy, and I think people would still make that argument today, except the other way. So it's it's a lot of it is you got to figure out. It's you're going to adjust to your the league's going to adjust to your quarterback. How does he readjust? It's hard to. Some guys establish themselves right away. Some guys, it's a little bit more topsy-turvy.
True. Proppa says, why are the Ravens even letting Linderbaum test free agency? If he's really good, if he's a really good 25-year-old center, why wouldn't you extend him? Am I missing something? Well, coaching change.
He's a short-armed guy that, different regime, same regime, but different coach. I don't think they're going to let him go. I think they're going to make a big play to re-sign him. I mean, he's the premier center in the game right now.
Front row Dro says, what do you think about CMC in the Debo role and draft a running back early?
Got to do it.
I want to see Jordan James. I like Jordan James' tape. I feel like I liked his 6 carries in the playoffs. He looks like I think he's got a little power and explosion.
Well, first of all, the Jordan James effort on the Shaheed return was pathetic. I mean, he was the first guy down there, and then he showed no interest at all. He looked like a sports car that couldn't handle. He got down there. He was 3 feet to the left or 3 yards away from Shaheed, and then he just kind of just showed no interest at all and just kind of ran by him. So that was terrible. Now, I'm also nervous about a guy who looks pretty good in July and then looks pretty good in January, but in between, what did he look like? So I like him on the team. I like him a whole lot more than like a Garendo or something like that. I think he's an NFL back, but there's no way I'm coming back next year with him as the number 2. They've got to find themselves a really good running back and utilize Christian Moore as a safety valve, receiver, jack of all trades.
I like Jordan James. He reminds me of Blake Corum. That's my comparison for how he runs the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him a freaking chance. And the fact that he didn't play as a rookie doesn't do anything for me. That's Kyle. He must not have memorized his offense quickly enough, or he was hurt during installation in August, and that's it. But if he could stay healthy through the offseason this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he forces his way on the field. He really looked explosive and effective in that limited opportunity. Bay Area says, I want to see monsters on the O-line. Yeah, simple as that. Come on. I mean, in 2019, they had first-round pick at left tackle, first-round pick at left guard, second-round pick at center, and first-round pick at right tackle. Try that.
And I think Firster, by the way, is a good coach. I don't think Firster's the problem. I have a couple people who said, get rid of Firster. No, I don't think Firster's the problem. I think the lack of an injection of any kind of real talent on that line for years. I mean, they've just said, we'll just put it together with bubble gum and baling wire, and we'll just make it all happen. No, No, you're eventually going to have to make a real investment into your offensive line.
They drafted Dominic Pooney in round 3, and they're like, "Oh my God, what a specimen!" It's like, yeah, compared to the other offensive linemen you've been drafting for the last 10 years. I mean, nothing against Dominic Pooney, but it's a 3rd-round pick. You could get someone even more gifted. Sucker Free says, Grant Larry, what are your thoughts on the Niners stealing Tariq Woolen from Seattle and having him opposite of Demo? Also, do you think Jair Brown gets traded and Luter gets cut next season?
I think this is a lot has to do with Gus Bradley. If Gus Bradley is going to be the coordinator, and I think there's reason to believe that Cleveland's going to hire Jim Schwartz as their head coach, and then it's going to come down to Bradley or Raheem Morris, and it sounds like they're leaning towards Bradley. Bradley loves big corners. He was the reason that Dallas Flowers was in camp with the Niners. He loved Luter when I talked to him this summer. He put together Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman. I'll go further than that. I think the Niners will go after Tariq Woolen if Bradley is their guy. Woolen is immature, he's young, he's made some mistakes, but man, he played better in the second half of the year, and he's 6'4". They need a stronger corner against the run to set the edge. They miss Emmanuel Mosley. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but they missed how violent he was in the run game. I think Tariq Woolen, if Bradley's the coordinator, I think Tariq Woolen's going to be a Niner next year.
Maybe. I don't think so. As long as Brock Purdy's making what he's making, I think the Niners' salary structure is to have one high-priced player at every position group. D-line, linebacker, secondary. You already have one in each one, and then all those guys on offense. I'm sure they'd love Tariq Woolen, but it's expensive. You'd have 2 expensive cornerbacks. You could. I would be surprised.
I'm not sure what his price tag is going to be. That's the only question. He's not going to be the highest-rated corner in the free agent market, but you're right. He's a free agent.
Damn near 20.
Paid a lot.
Yeah,
big and young.
Do. Corey Coleman, the redhead redemption. Hey man, I do like Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's a good story in the sense that he crashed and burned in front of the whole country and took it like a man and didn't complain and really embraced being humble and rebuilding himself. And now, I mean, he's not elite, but he reminds me a lot of Alex Smith and what he's become. He's a little cautious. He's big and gifted, but seems like a good guy, good teammate. Everyone likes him. Probably a little bit better than Alex Smith was. I like Sam Darnold.
He's got better talent than Alex Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith wasn't the number 1 pick in the draft. He messed up his shoulder and never really had much of an arm after that. Darnold has a freaking cannon.
I mean, here's the thing with Darnold. He was captain turnover. Guess what he hasn't done in the playoffs this year? He hasn't turned it over.
Give him credit.
Turned it over.
Yeah.
Best record in the NFL, by the way, last 2 years, 30-7.
Pardon? He's led the NFL.
Sam record has got he's 30-7 as a starter the last 2 years. Best record in the NFL.
It's incredible. I mean, to me, it sounds ridiculous, but let's compare him to Steve Young for a second, because he's not Steve Young. But with Steve Young, you kind of have to throw out his whole career before 1989. You know what I mean? Like, all those years was like, yeah, it happened. But if you wrote him off because he struggled in Tampa or wasn't playing with the Niners, then you missed it, because once he finally learned an offense and, was fully integrated into it, he was great. And it seems like with Darnold, he was not really like being taught an NFL offense for the first 5 years of his career. When he got to the Niners, he finally learned a system. And since then, he seems like he's been steadily improving and showing the promise that got him drafted so high.
It's the biggest story that we haven't talked about, really, is that the 49ers discovered, reclamation project quarterback Sam Darnold. He signed a 1-year deal, walked away. They did it again with Mac Jones, but they signed him to a 2-year deal, and now they're going to get great compensation for him, most likely. I think that one of the, if you go look at the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I think there's 23 quarterbacks or whatever in the Hall of Fame. Almost to a man, these guys were no good at 23, 24, 25, 26. Most of these guys got good later, 27 or later. Staubach, Bradshaw, all these guys. I mean, almost every great quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame was not good early. So what's the lesson? The lesson is keep investing in the reclamation project quarterback. Reclamation project quarterbacks are going to sprint over to you because of Darnold and Jones. So if Zach Wilson comes knocking, go sign him. Go sign him. Keep, because this is and sign him to a 2-year deal, demand a 2-year deal, and then have that asset to keep trading away every year. And I think that should be the 49ers. If the Niners have any advantage, it used to be Eddie D. We'll spend more than everybody else. Now it's capped. You can't do that. What's the Niners' advantage? They don't really have one, except that they are now the number one home for reclamation project quarterbacks. So bring in Zach Wilson or another reclamation project quarterback, make it happen, and turn that guy into another second-round pick. And I think, to me, that's how they should go forward, as trying to build and trying to catch up to these teams that have passed them by roster-wise.
To me, if any team can pull off what Minnesota tried to pull off last year and failed, which is just like play quarterback roulette, it's the Niners. And the only reason they don't realize that, or they forgot it, is because they whiffed so hard on Trey Lance. They never need to do that again. You're the guy that brings in Darnold. You bring in Mac Jones after they've failed on one or two teams. That's what you do, and you do it better than anyone else. The Colts did a good job with Daniel Jones, but the Niners could have done the same exact thing with him. Yep. And if it doesn't work out with Brock Purdy on this big contract, and it may. If it doesn't, and Kyle is still the quarterback and you're 15 or whatever, I'd like him to maybe try this, because, again, look at the two teams in the Super Bowl. They're not spending a ton on their quarterback position. They may eventually, but they're not right now.
We're not that far away from Green Bay maybe thinking Malik Willis is better than their starter.
Same situation.
I would go for Anthony Richardson. He's 6'5", he's 240. He's obviously been awful. Put him in this situation and build his value and trade him next year to a quarterback-needy team for a second-round pick.
Kilo TW says Kyle and John's lack of concern for the O-line has to be studied. Like, why do they neglect it so much? Is it the scheme? It's strange because the Rams don't neglect it. The Seahawks don't neglect it. They have the same scheme. It feels very like Kyle Shanahan specific.
Well, I've heard them talk about it, and they're like, hey, look at the teams that draft offensive linemen early. They're back up in the top of the draft the next year. Because offensive linemen take a while to develop. Yeah, not the Seahawks. The Seahawks found Gray Zabel. They plugged him in.
Great pick.
He was awesome. He is awesome.
Charles Cross was a good pick.
Yes. I mean, you know what's really amazing about the Seahawks? They were down and out and probably done. And in one draft, John Schneider found Abraham Lucas, his starting right tackle, and Charles Cross, his starting left tackle. In one draft, they found bookend tackles.
It's a good GM. To a man, the great says Gainwell is a free agent. He has the best name of a running back in the history of running backs. Gainwell, just for his name alone. Yes.
I like him, by the way, he's gutty. That'll be a good one. That'd be a good veteran to get.
Yeah. Brock Purdy the Great says, I live in a treehouse, Grant. I'm better than you. Hey, there you go. How do you know I don't? How do you know I don't?